What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Tactical. Welcome back with another video. Today is going to be episode 0 of my new series, Shoot Smart. Shoot Smart is going to be a after-action report, kind of a bit of a field notes kind of vibe, as you would say. It's going to be me yapping at you guys through the camera on my way home from the range. Sometimes it's going to be on the way home from practice. Sometimes it'll be on the way home from a match. I can get a lot out of that, and I think you guys will get a lot out of that too, being able to pick my brain and get inside my head as far as what I'm thinking when I do training and practice.
Because we sitting here, I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice.
Speaking of practice, that's what we're going to be talking about today in our video. Make sure you guys drop a like. Drop a comment if you like this content, if you have a subject that you want to hear me talk about in the future. Also, make sure you share this with a friend who sucks at shooting. Stop letting their guns collect dust in the safe. So without any further ado, let's get into it. This first video is kind of just going to be an introduction to this series and kind of going over some things that I've really been conceptualizing and thinking about through my training over the past about 3 weeks or so since I started doing this. The first thing, and probably the most prevalent thought that I've had lately, is how wrong I was about practical shooting up until this point. I, over the past 3 years, have been shooting a match every single weekend. There hasn't been very many weekends where I've missed matches. And I used to think that was really, really good, that I trained a lot because I was at matches every weekend shooting, 200 rounds or so at these USPSA matches at Shoot at Prado. And I thought that was good. I thought that was good enough, at least. And it was, and it is. And depending on your goals, that might be all the shooting that you really need to do to get to a consistent level of on-demand performance. But for me, that's not good enough. For me, I believe that if I had all the resources in the world, if I had all the money in the world and I didn't have to work and all I did was train, all I could do was train and all my ammo was taken care of and I didn't have to worry about the cost or anything, I believe that I could be the best shooter on the planet. And not everybody feels that way. I think a lot of people limit themselves in certain ways and honestly do not believe in their hearts that even if they had all the resources, time, money available to them in the world, that they still would have a ceiling for their skill level when it comes to practical shooting. I don't believe that I have that. I believe that if I didn't have to work, if I didn't have to spend time focusing on other things in my life, I would be the best shooter on the planet. That being said, I was never ever gonna get to my full potential just shooting 1 day a week at a match on the weekends. It's not possible. I spoke with Ben Steger about this at his class. A lot of you guys have been enjoying the content. I really, really appreciate that. And he asked me a question that really hit me hard. And he said, I was kind of asking him, what do you think I need to do to get to the next level? And he said, well, what does your training look like? I was like, training? I was like, well, I shoot matches on the weekends. That was my answer. And he was like, no, that's not training, bro. So I'm like, oh, interesting. I didn't really understand what he meant at the time. Now, 4 weeks into consistent training weekly, multiple days per week, shooting about 1,000 rounds per week right now, I'm realizing how little I knew about my own shooting. When you're shooting only matches every weekend, if you're shooting at the top level, you're only going to have about 100 seconds total of shooting time. That's not enough time to observe, be aware, and then make adjustments to the things that are happening during the stage while you're shooting. I hope that makes sense for everybody. I'll try to say it in a different way. You don't have enough time in a match to observe the mistakes that you're making while you're shooting. It's really important to get out to practice and shoot a couple hundred rounds multiple days throughout the week if you really want to see a meaningful jump in your skill level, especially once you get to that A-class, master class level, breaking through to the next spot where you're, winning matches consistently, or maybe you just want to beat that one guy that you kind of have a little bit of a rivalry with, and you've never been able to beat him. You can only beat him if he has a malfunction or if something goes wrong on a stage. You want to build that consistency? The only way to build that consistency is to get out to the range and practice. It's not the answer that everybody wants to hear, but it's the answer that everybody kind of already knows. So I know I'm preaching to the pastor a little bit here, to whoever's watching this video. You already know this, but I want to tell you from someone's perspective who's spent a good amount of the last year only training at matches and doing dry fire, and up until this point thought that was totally good enough and that I would be able to make big gains just with that level of practice. That's completely wrong. It's so wrong in so many different ways. And until you get out on the range and start, spending those 200, 300 round days on the range, you're never gonna be aware of the mistakes that you're making in the first place. So I don't want to drag this video out too much longer. I feel like I've kind of reiterated the same thing a few times now, and hopefully, this sticks with you guys. But I just wanted to share that because it's really been prevalent for me, and I've been really aware of this as I've been developing through my training and practice and actually putting in an effort into trying to get better instead of just relying on my natural abilities and my brain. Because you can understand shooting all you want, but understanding shooting and actually going out and performing on demand are two completely different things. So thank you guys so much for sitting through this and listening to me yap. I'm about to get off the freeway here pretty soon. Make sure you drop a comment if you want to see more videos like this. Make sure you subscribe, like, share this video with a friend, and maybe you can help out their crappy shooting. Thank you guys so much. See you in the next one.